Sure I'm recording. There we go. Got it. Okay. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Benefits Trust Zoomcast series. Our Zoomcast series happens every single month. We've committed to doing this 3 times a month for the entire year, all the way through the summer and everything. So thank you for joining us. We had a superb session in January, or superb sessions in January, about executive benefits. We're doing this one today on building a bulletproof sales plan. And next month, we're going to be talking about prospecting. So really excited that everybody's here. So we want to welcome you. Please have your cameras on, if possible, so we can see you. At the end of the presentation today, you're going to get a credit for participating. As well as that, you're going to be signed up for our Trusted Advisor newsletter, and we're going to send you a real short survey. And we want you to send that survey back to us. Give us your ideas. Tell us how we did today. Tell us how we... Bob Cameron, can you stop sharing your screen, please? Where's Bob? I don't know where Bob Cameron is here. He started sharing his screen, and we want him to stop that. Anyways, while he's doing that, we're going to send you a survey. Please fill it out and report back to us on how we did and how we can do it tomorrow. Give us your ideas on how we can do things better tomorrow as well. These Zoomcasts that we set up really when COVID started was not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being in a room where everybody gets smarter. It's as simple as that. And, you know, I've participated in things like this many, many times over my career. And I think if you get one good idea, I think this is time well spent. Pardon me. So we want to talk today about building your bulletproof sales plan. And I just want to share my screen now. Thank you. And let's get into it. So on behalf of all of us that are here at the Benefits Trust, I think Mike's here, Rob's here, Carrie's here, and of course, Lindsay, our newest employee, is here. So I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you. If you have any questions, please either raise your hand on the emoji, because I can't see everybody that's on the screen right now. But if you raise your hand, it'll pop up. Please, if you can mute yourself, yeah, there we go. We can mute yourself so we don't get a lot of background noise. As well as that, if you have a question, throw it in the chat box and or put your little emoji hand up and we'll get to you for sure. But we want to talk today about building your bulletproof sales plan. And this is something that's really sort of near and dear to my heart. I just think it's an exciting subject because sales is such a rewarding career, and insurance sales is such a rewarding career. And it's, I think there's just an endless opportunity right now. So let's talk about that. So our agenda today is: what are your goals? What is your target market? Knowing what you're going to say. Have a sales plan. We want to talk about having a sales plan, to talk about committing to that sales plan. I want to give you a sales questionnaire, and it's really a worksheet. I want to give you this worksheet. I want to show you how I filled it out, just as an example, but I want to give you this worksheet that you can clarify, you can use to clarify your thinking, of course, summary, questions, answers, discussion. And it's really about, you know, building this bulletproof sales plan. So let's explore through that lens. A little bit about us. The Benefits Trust is the largest independently owned TPA in Canada. We started on January 1st, 1994. So we've been around for more than 30 years, which is great. So 30 years and, 1 month and 6 days. We're a full service third-party administration company. We provide custom employee benefit solutions to all of our clients, and we deal with advisors like yourself. So we sell through advisors like yourself. We provide exceptional client experiences, and that's what our clients are telling us when we ask them for feedback, which we do on a frequent basis. So we provide that exceptional client experience. One of the things that I like to say is we do the 5% extraordinarily well. So another way to say it is, you know, we do 95% of the stuff, you know, really well, like paying claims and adjudicating claims and dealing with clients and so on. But it's that 5% when you have an issue. You know, when there's an issue with a bill or an issue with a claim or something like that, and you got to call us or you've got to interact with us and deal with us, we do that exceptionally well. Versus compared to, you know, for example, Air Canada. I've got a problem with Air Canada and I've got to call them. And I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday that was on hold with Air Canada for 3 hours and 45 minutes before he can get his client or get his problem resolved. 3 hours and 45 minutes. We answer the phone, we're going to solve it right away. We've got long-term relationships with multiple insurance carriers and suppliers, so we're not tied to any one. And our target market is really working with advisors like you with clients with 1 to 100 employees. So what's this point of view? Like, why are we talking about building a sales plan and why are we talking about that 1 to 100? Well, Toronto has more cranes in use than most US cities combined. So right now in Southern and Central Ontario, there's approximately 250 cranes in operation. That's more than New York, San Francisco, Boston, Seattle, Washington, all of those cities combined, all those major cities combined. Toronto is on fire. It is going strong. I was reading some of the headlines this morning. The housing market in Toronto is still, it's alive. It's well. There's a lot going on in Southern and Central Ontario where we're operating, and it's as simple as that. There's just a lot going on, and it's an exciting marketplace. And when you look in Southern and Central Ontario, or just Ontario for that matter, but the majority of the businesses are obviously in the South, there are 449,000, almost 500,000 businesses, 450,000 businesses in Ontario. 440,000 of those businesses have less than 100 full-time employees. So as I like to say, there's endless prospects. There are endless prospects in the marketplace, which the majority of us are dealing in. So, within 1 hour drive or a click away, there are endless prospects. And I remember the story that my dad used to tell me like many, many, many years ago. He used to work in New York City, and he said there was absolutely no competition because there were so many prospects that if you just kept on moving, if you kept on doing your thing, you would get your share of business. So as I like to say, in Southern Ontario, Central Ontario, and the markets that most of us are dealing in, there's really not a lot of competition because there's just so many prospects. And I think that's important. So let's take a step back. What is a benefit plan? Before we get into building, this sales bulletproof sales plan, what is a benefit plan? Well, it's no more than a promise between an employer and an employee. And that's a really sort of eye-opening, that was a big aha moment for me a number of years ago. When I was in a sales meeting with a prospect and it wasn't going well. And I go, hold on a second, let's stop, let's regroup here for a moment, right? And what are we talking about here? And the prospect said, well, we're talking about this group insurance stuff. We're talking about this dental stuff and these drugs and so on. I said, no, we're talking about a benefit plan. And a benefit plan is nothing more than a promise between an employer and an employee. This individual's body language changed from negative to positive. The light went off in his head. The light went off in my head. I have no idea where it came from, right? But he says, as the business owner, I can promise anything I want. So all of a sudden, the control came to him, which was what he wanted. And the meeting changed, and they became a client, and they still are a client. So a benefit plan is nothing more than a promise between an employer and an employee. And what does the employer want to promise? In order to do that, you've got to know where your client is going. And the best way to do this is to ask. So when we're thinking about building a sales plan and we're thinking about a prospecting plan, really we want to talk about, where the client is going, and we have to ask. And the best way to ask is future-based questions. Not what's happened in the past, it's where the client is going in the future. And the best question that I've got in my sales career, which spans more than 35 years, is if we were meeting here 3 years from now and you were looking back over those 3 years, Mr. Prospect or Mrs. Prospect, what has to have happened for you to say it's been the best 3 years of your life? This question came from Dan Sullivan of the Strategic Coach, and it's really changed the way I think. It's really changed the way I interact with people. I asked this question at a dinner party on Saturday night with my son and some of his friends. And it was a fascinating discussion that we had as a result of this. But it's interesting because it puts people into the future, and they're looking back saying, what has to have happened over those 3 years to say it's been the best 3 years of your life? So let's keep that in mind when we're building this bulletproof sales plan. So I want to share a story with you. I started in 1988, and I started at the Great West Life. What did they call them? Agency office. I started with an agency, Great West Life, and it was on Consumers Road in Toronto, the north end of Toronto. And, I really didn't know what the heck I was doing. I got licensed and I had a manager, and we would have agency meetings every single month. And I remember about 2 months in, I think it was my second month or second meeting anyway. And they would have, different things. They would have agency updates and so on, but they would always have one of the particular agents in the agency speak, and they would speak about their successes. Not kind of like what Lawrence is doing, but on a much smaller scale. So this one lady got up, and I remember her, and she was a very nice woman. I don't remember her name, unfortunately, but she was a nice woman, and she was successful. I could just tell she was successful by the way she carried herself, and the number of clients she had, and her production levels and so on. And she said she had a very simple message. She said her success was, I want to work 40 weeks a year, because there's Christmas and there's summer holidays and vacation time and so on. But her success was having 10 meetings a week. She goes, I work 40 weeks a year. I have 10 meetings a week. Simple as that. She has 400 meetings a year. And I just remember sitting back and listening, and I'm going, hey, I can do that. I can have 10 meetings a week. Yeah, I can commit to that. I'm on board with that. And it's something that's really stuck in my head. And that was my very first sales plan. That was my very first bulletproof sales plan. 40 weeks a year. Yeah, I like that. And 10 meetings a week. And I think in my career, I've had well over 10,000 sales meetings. And I think that's actually probably pretty low. But this was the start of my plan. It was simple, 10 meetings a week, right? It was easy to measure. So on Friday afternoon, when I finished my work week, so to speak, I asked myself, did I have 10 meetings a week? Did I have 10 meetings this week? It was easy to measure. It was easy to determine whether or not I was successful or not. Geez, I only had 8 this week. Next week, I got to have 12. I got to catch up. So it was easy to measure. It created this personal accountability for me. I was honest with myself. It created this personal accountability for me. And this was the start of me really being honest with myself, and being able to measure success. And success wasn't what I was selling in my mind. Success was 10 meetings a week. Success was 10 meetings a week. So when we think about goals, what are your goals? Goal setting is something that we've heard probably a lot about in our career, and it doesn't matter whether you're just starting out or you've been in this business for many years. I know Glenn Stewart's on the call, and Glenn's been in this business for probably 45 years or maybe even 50 years. I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter, how long you've been in this business. It's about goal setting, and you might set goals in all aspects of your life. A target weight, certain health measures, with respect to business. But goal setting, I think, is important. It's something that I've certainly done for many, many different aspects of my life, but goal setting is important. But one thing I've learned about goal setting is it's got to be specific. The goal has to be specific. It's got to be measurable, right? You've got to be able to measure that goal. It's got to be attainable, right? And I like to stretch, so it's got to be attainable, but not too far out there. Like, a goal of saying, hey, I want to own my own private jet. Well, in the next 12 months, unless you're Taylor Swift, that may not be that attainable, right? It's as simple as that. It's got to be relevant. The goal has to be relevant, and it's got to be time bound, if you would. There's got to be a timeline on that goal. And I think it's important to write down your goals. So you think about your goals, but you've got to write them down, because when you don't write down a goal, it's just a dream, in my opinion. So you got to write down the goal. You've got to be committed to that goal. And I like to say you got to share that goal, and share that goal with your board of advisors, share that goal with your team, who's on your team. Sales is a lonely life, but I think when you write them down, it goes from up here, through your hand onto paper, and it creates that level of commitment. And especially when you share that goal, you become accountable to that goal. So it's kind of a powerful exercise when you write it down, commit to it, and share to it. It's truly a powerful exercise, and it really changes your psyche. One of the things that I used to share with my wife, Michelle, especially when I started out, was that 10 meetings a week, and it made me accountable. I would say to her on Friday, I said, it's been a good week. I had 10 meetings, or I had 11 meetings, or whatever the number was. But I'm a little bit shy, but it made me truly accountable, right? So what are your goals? Write them down, commit to them, share them with others. So commitment, I've done I've done this every 90 days for 30 plus years. I've been a disciple, if you would, of the strategic coach and I go every single 90 days, and I've done this for more than 30 years. And for me, it works, right? And it's interesting, and I was thinking about this, and when I was putting this presentation together, and professional help works. Professional help works with your thinking. It works with, getting things in line. It helps with your commitment. And it's interesting, as I mentioned, the program I use is the strategic coach, and I'm thinking of that word coach. And here's an old picture of the Leafs, but the Leafs are the best. They're in the NHL, obviously, right? They're not the best. It's been a while since we won a Stanley Cup. But the point is, all NHL teams have coaches, right? The Blue Jays have coaches. They've got multiple coaches, as do the Leafs. The Raptors have coaches. All professional teams, all professional entertainers, right? All professional people have coaches, right? So there's nothing wrong with having a coach, and that coach can be professional, or it can be, someone like your board of advisors, which we'll talk about in a moment. But it helps you with your commitment. Coaches are there to help you with your commitment. So when you think about a coach, right, it helps you with your commitment, and it gives you that accountability. So when we're talking about a bulletproof sales plan, it's about commitment and accountability. So the question that I have is, are you, just in a beer league where you get together with your buds every Friday or Thursday or Tuesday nights or whatever it is, and you're playing shinny hockey, and there's no coach and it's just about drinking beer, right? Or are you a professional? So if all professionals have coaches, up to some extent, do you, right? So let's think about that a little bit differently. You might want to think about coaching a little bit differently, but everybody, in my opinion, needs a coach. And if you're a professional, right, you need a coach as well. And the coaches doesn't necessarily have to be a professional program. I've used the strategic coach, which as I've mentioned, but there are many, many programs out there. One of the things that's, I use the strategic coach and the people in my group for, because they're all of different industries, but like-minded, it makes you accountable, right? And if you don't want to go that formally into a program like the strategic coach or something like that, do you have a board of advisors? A board of advisors is just a group of people or a person that can make you accountable for the goals that you're setting. I started off at my board of advisors was my spouse, right? My board of advisors was Michelle. Did I have 10 meetings a week? She would ask me that question because I asked her to ask me that question. Did you have those 10 meetings a week? It can be business friends, right? It could be, employees of yours. You make them, or, you're setting goals for your employees to make them accountable. You can be accountable to them as well, right? It could be mentors. People love being mentors to other people. It can be mentors. It lets them ask you questions about you, right? Excuse me. One of the things that I like to say is I'm happy to work with anybody, any advisor that is committed. I'm happy to work with any committed advisor. If you want to have a call with me on a monthly basis, right, I'm going to ask you some tough questions, and you better be able to answer them, but it makes you accountable. Doing it on your own is difficult. It's a big world out there. It's a scary world out there. And doing this on your own is difficult. As I said from the top, sales is one of the most rewarding careers that you can have, but it's also one of the most lonely careers that you can have because you are on your own. As simple as that. You are on your own, right? It requires self-motivation. It requires focus. It requires commitment. You got to be able to answer the question, what am I doing today? And when you have goals, it makes it more clear. It makes it easier. What am I doing today? 10 meetings a week. That's what I'm doing today. 10 meetings a week, right? I got to get 6 more meetings, so I better get at it. I knew what I had to do with that very simple sales plan at the beginning. It's like my goal is to climb Mount Everest. Well, where do you start? Well, it's one step at a time. Simon is training for Mount Everest because he's, he always does these walk while he listens to these Zoomcasts. He's got a smile on his face, I see. But it's that It's that commitment. It's that goal. It's that commitment. And what am I doing today? It's that self-motivation. And trust me, this is difficult. This is difficult. What we're saying here is difficult. So where do you start? Your target market. I think it's important to have a target market. And the more specific you are with your target market, the bigger your market is, the bigger the opportunity is. So I like to say is you've got to research your target market. You've got to research, you got to know your target market well. And you've got to be able to answer the question, why is this your target market? You've got to be able to answer that question internally, and you've got to be able to tell people. So when they ask you what's your target market, you got to be able to tell them and tell them why. And the question that I have is, can you be the expert in that target market? Can you be that expert, right? So as I like to say, I'm the expert in my target market. I can say that confidently. I can sit with my chest out and say, yeah, I am an expert in this target market. And I spend probably more than 80% of my time in this target market, but it's understanding what your target market is. You might have different target markets for different lines of business, but understand what your target market is. Tell people why they are in your target market. People want to deal with an expert. Tell them that you're an expert in this target market. And you think about it. A friend of mine, and he's good. Everything worked out well. But he told me late in December that he was going in for brain surgery. And he was going in for brain surgery, and he's in the road to recovery, and everything is fine, thank goodness. But he was dealing with an expert in brain surgery. He was dealing with two surgeons that were expert. This is what they do all day long. This wasn't his general practitioner. It wasn't his GP, right? You think about having brain surgery, you want to deal with an expert. It's as simple as that. So be the expert. Be the expert in your target market. Know what your target market is. Know why you've got that target market, and be the expert. Simple as that. So examples of target market. Well, you can do it by size. I only want to deal with groups that are 1,000 lives and more. Or I only want to deal with groups that are less than 25 lives. Dave Patriarch, who many of us know, who started CGIB. And if you're not a member of CGIB, I strongly suggest that you should be. CGIB is a great thing, but Dave has made his career on saying, I only want to deal with groups that are less than 50 employees or 25 employees, right? So size is something that you can help define your target market. Years in business. I only want to deal with third generation companies because I want to sell them, additional insurance as well. I only want to deal with new companies, brand new startup companies, because they've got unique needs. Geographic, I only want to deal with companies that are, within 1 hour of my house or my office. I only want to deal with companies that are, on Matheson Boulevard, right? It's whatever it is that you choose as your geographic boundaries. I do not want to go to Calgary and have meetings. It's as simple as that. Industry. One of the best stories I have about industry, a guy that I know that's more on the P&C side of the business, but he just decided that he had this love for Beaver airplanes, the de Havilland Beaver airplane. And he was able to get every single person that owns a de Havilland, get the names and email contacts of every single person that owns a de Havilland Beaver airplane. And he knew a lot about these airplanes. So he would contact these people and sell them airplane insurance for their de Havilland Beavers. And then he sold insurance for their businesses because they all had businesses. He sold insurance to their multiple homes that they had, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was very industry specific, or in this case, just hobby specific. Demographics. I only want to deal with young companies. I don't want to deal with older folks, whatever makes sense, from a demographic perspective. I know Chris Gorey deals a lot in tech businesses. So they're younger folks. I only want to deal with people that I can see face to face because that's where I'm most comfortable. Or I only want to deal with people that are interested in having Zoom meetings. I want to deal with them electronically. I'm never going to meet you. Other than on a Zoom meeting because I can't afford to come out to your office or whatever the circumstances are. But you got to be able to tell your prospect why they're in your target market. You got to be able to tell your prospect, I only deal with companies that are startups or you've got to be able to spin the story, so to speak, in your target market. So think about what your target market is. And again, in a few minutes, I'm going to share with you a worksheet that's going to help you with this thinking. The next thing I think is the most difficult is knowing what you're going to say. How can you help your prospect? You've got seconds, literally seconds to motivate your prospect, right? So the question is, what are you going to say to them? They're in your target market, they're qualified, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what are you going to say to them? How can you help your prospect? It's not about you, it's about them. So again, it's not about you, it's about them. So it's how can you help your prospect? What value can you add? How do you make it a qualifying statement? And how can you say it clearly in 5 seconds? How can you say it clearly in 5 seconds? And it's interesting. This is probably one of the most difficult things as an advisor you can do, is create a statement that says who you are, what you are, but you make it about your prospect, show them how you can add value, show them how you make it a qualifying statement, and you can have this roll off your tongue in 5 seconds. It's as simple as that. When someone asks me if I'm on an airplane or a chairlift or at a party or whatever it is, they go, "Rob, what do you do?" Right? I don't say I own a TPA and we're the largest in Canada, independently owned TPA in Canada. They just go, well, what does that even mean? Someone says, what do? We say we help successful business owners build a better benefit plan than they can get anywhere else. Just rolls off my tongue. We help successful business owners build a better benefit plan than they can get anywhere else. Simple as that. And they go, oh, that's interesting. How do you do that? It creates conversation. Right? It creates conversation. Let's break it down. So when someone asks, what do we do? Or when I say meet a prospect, it's, thank you very much for taking the time to meet with me. We help successful business owners build a better benefit plan than they get anywhere else. This is how we start a meeting. So we help. Well, guess what? People like to be helped. I don't care who you are. People like help. People like good help, right? And we're making this a qualifying statement. Successful business owners. Fantastic. As I like to say, there are 2 types of business owners. There are successful business owners and other people's prospects, right? Because you don't want to deal with unsuccessful people because they can't write checks or make payments, right? We help successful business owners. Great. So people like help. We're making qualifying successful business owners. Build. What does build mean, right? Build means custom. Build means custom. Simon Marples there is walking on his treadmill, right? He's built his office, his home office or his office, wherever he is, the way he wants it. It's custom to him. It may not be for everybody. It's custom for him, right? So it works. So we help successful business owners build, better. Oh, geez, everybody wants something that's better. Don't you? Wouldn't you? All the people that are on the call, wouldn't you want something that's better, right? So absolutely, you're interested. And then where you can get anywhere else, well, that's exclusive. So when people say, what is it that you do, Rob? I say we help successful business owners build a better benefit plan than they can get anywhere else. Simple as that, rolls off your tongue. It's on our website. It's on a lot of our marketing material, right? It's being able to say that really quickly. By the way, this isn't easy, and it took us 20 years to figure out. We've been in business for 30. So for the first 20 years, we were, flying by the seat of our pants. I'm just sharing the experience with you. This is difficult, but you've got to create it because it helps. It helps you a great deal. So the next component is, building a bulletproof sales plan is, what are your revenue goals, right? What are your case count goals? What are your closing ratios? And do these matter? Do these matter? Well, it depends. It's up to you. At the beginning of my career, as I shared with you, it was that 10 meetings a week. 10 meetings a week. That's all I worried about. That's all I worried about. It depends on where you are and how much of these matrix you want to use, right? But it's that, what are your goals, right? And it's back to your goals. So the first goals that I had were 10 meetings a week. Then it became revenue goals, right? I need to, in order to live the life I want to live, I want to set these revenue goals at X hundreds of thousands of dollars or Y hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever it was. And I wanted to have a certain case count because I didn't want to have all my eggs in one basket, right? So I didn't want to have Pearl Harbor. If anybody's been to Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, yeah, the Americans did a really good job in World War II of messing up because they had too many ships in their harbor at once, right? And they got attacked and there was a problem, right? So I wanted to have a whole bunch of small cases. So if you lose one, which you do, as we all know, great, it really didn't have a significant financial impact on my business. So what are your case count goals? What are your closing ratios? The closing ratios, I don't care what anybody says about closing ratios. It doesn't matter. If you got a good closing ratio, fantastic. If you have a poor closing ratio, doesn't matter. Because all it is just the number of calls that you got to make. All of these things matter, or they may not matter. It depends. It's up to you. But it breaks, what these things do is it helps you break down your goals into bite-sized pieces. How do you climb Everest? One step at a time. What are those steps? How many steps do I need to take today so I can climb Everest tomorrow? Right? These things matter, so you can break them down into bite-sized pieces. Because if you're standing there at the bottom of Mount Everest and you're looking up and you're going, I don't know how I'm going to get to the top of this thing. Or you're saying, I'm going to write 20 cases this year and it's January 1st, and you're standing there looking up and you go 20 cases and you go, I don't even know where to start. So these matrices, if you would, help you break down goals into bite-sized pieces, right? The question is, how do you say it? How do you contact prospects? By the way, we're doing a session in next month in March about prospecting. But how do you say it? You know, we help successful business owners build a better benefit plan than they get anywhere else. Well, how do you contact prospects? Well, through referrals, through social media, through networking, on the telephone, door knocking. You know, it's so old school, but it works. Trust me. You walk into a industrial plaza, for example, and you knock on people's doors, and you can give them a leave behind. And you talk to a lot of people don't have receptionists anymore, but you say, hey, my name is Robert Crowder, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And I'm wondering if you can help me. I want to talk to the person that's in charge of employee benefits. And they say, no, is there something you can leave? And you go, fantastic. But I just want you to know, here's this packet of information, but we help successful business owners like you build a better benefit plan than they can get anywhere else. So if it's just an employee, they're going to give this to that person because of that qualifying statement. We can build a better benefit plan than they can get anywhere else. Well, geez, our plan isn't very good, because all employees think their plans aren't good. Email can be very effective, right? First class mail. Very few people use first class mail. I think first class mail and handwritten notes can be very, very effective. So the question is, whatever works for you. And we're going to spend, again, a lot more time on prospecting in the next month's sessions. But I think it's important to have a sales plan. And I think it's important to break it down from big to small. So when you look at a sales plan annually, you look at it quarterly, you look at it monthly, you look at it daily. You know, I knew back to that very beginning, 10 sales calls a week, pardon me. You got to be accountable. Be honest with yourself. When it's broken down into bite-sized pieces, I think you can be honest with yourself. Did I do this? Did I do these 10 meetings a week? I can be honest with myself. I can drive home in the car and ask myself that question, right? Big thing is schedule it. Schedule it. Put it in your calendar. Commit to it, just like you would with a meeting with a prospect. Commit to it. Hey, are you available to meet on Tuesday at 2:00? I'm sorry, I'm booked, right? Because I have prospecting in my calendar at that time. You don't necessarily have to tell people that, but you know, from 2 to 3 o'clock, you are making calls, or whatever it is that you're doing. And again, I can't stress this enough. Report to your board of advisors, however you define what your board of advisors is. Report to them regularly, whether it's monthly, whether it's quarterly, whether it's weekly, right? Be honest with yourself and report back, because they can ask questions. But when you commit to reporting to somebody and you say, hey, I didn't do anything this month, they're just going to go, well, why are we here? Go away. I don't want to talk to you, right? It gives you that level of commitment. When you have a sales plan and you break it down and you're honest with yourself and you schedule it and you report to a board of advisors, it gives you a great sense of purpose. It gives you an incredible sense of purpose. It's a lonely world out there, and you want to have purpose in that world. So, as I like to say, make your plan meaningful. Be patient. I know so many people that have, spent some time, they've created a plan to a certain extent, and then after 2 weeks, I didn't get the results I wanted, so I, put it on the shelf. You got to be patient. Commit to something. Commit to something for a period of time, like 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. Commit to it. Be patient and be prepared. Celebrate successes along the way. Fantastic. I had my 10 meetings this week. You know what? I'm going to have a bottle of wine tonight. Or I've had, great. I had a perfect month. I had 40 meetings this week. Outstanding. We're going to go out for a nice dinner tonight, Michelle. Like whatever it is. So have successes and celebrate celebrate successes along the way. And evaluate how it's going and adjust and monitor and share and say, hey, you know what? 10 meetings was just too much. I need to adjust it back slightly, or 10 meetings was, not enough. I had too much free time on my hands, so I'm going to kick it up to 12. So a sales plan is meaningful. You got to be patient. You got to celebrate along the way. You got to evaluate and fine tune it and make it yours, but you got to commit to that plan. So let's break it down. Target market, know what you're going to say, know how many times you have to say it. I want to give you guys or everybody that's on the call here, a worksheet that's going to help you with this. It's going to help you clarify your thinking. It's probably going to take you maybe at the most 30 minutes to help you clarify your thinking. It's going to help you define your target market. It's going to help you clarify what your value statement is. And it's going to break down your goals into bite-sized pieces, one step at a time. So you know what you're going to say. You're going to clarify that value statement. You're going to know who you're going to say it to, and you're going to be able to break it down into bite-sized pieces. Now, again, we're going to send you this worksheet. This is something that we've created, but I've filled it out. If I was looking at it to give you information, we're going to obviously give you a blank one. But I just want to take a few minutes and go through this and show you how it works. So under the know your target market component, what are your business interests? Well, for me, it's profit, growth focused, active involvement, not passive. I want to deal with business owners that their future is going to be bigger than, first of all, they're profitable. Their futures are going to be bigger than their pasts. They've got active involvement in their business as opposed to passive involvement in their business. Like, oh no, our business owner never comes in. We just report to him once a month. No, I want someone that's actively involved in their business. I think that's important to me, right? What do you have in common? So in other words, why are you the expert? Well, I'm active in my business, right? My future is going to be bigger than my past. We've got 20, 30 employees, whatever it is, right? I think we're close to 30 now. It's service focused. We've got 25 years of experience in this particular market size, right? What communities are you involved or are you active in? What communities? Well, I'm active in the local Chamber of Commerce. I'm active in Advocates. I'm active in KLU, serve on a committee. I'm active in IFB, CGIB, the Canadian Group Insurance Brokers Association that Dave Patrick started. Check out cgib.ca, and I do not get paid by them, right? I'm active in the Muskoka Ski Club. I'm the past president. I'm active in the St. Andrews College Parents Guild. I'm active in the Huntsville Hospital Foundation. I'm active in Alpine, Ontario. So these are all the communities that I'm active in. And that's important because there's a lot of other people, prospects that are active in these communities as well. And what type of business do I want to work with? What type of business do you want to work with? Well, I want to deal with profitable, owner-active businesses, growth-oriented businesses, innovative. I want to work with people that are innovative. I want to work with people that are passionate about what they do. I want to work with people that are focused. And I want to work with people that enjoy life. I don't want to work with, raging workaholics. I want to deal with people that enjoy life because I like to ski and golf and do fun things, right? So I want to deal with people that have that good balance, right? Next question is, what type of businesses do I not want to work with? Well, I don't want to work with public companies. I don't want to work with foreign ownership. I don't want to work outside of Southern and Central Ontario or Southern Ontario. I don't want to work with decision makers that don't value advice from professionals. And when you think about that, it's kind of interesting because how many times have you worked with someone that doesn't look at you as a professional? They look at you as a peddler, right? No matter how professional you are, in their eyes, you're just a peddler. Well, I don't want to work with them. Simple as that. I want to work with people I don't want to work with people that have a short-term outlook, right? I remember talking to a particular prospect and I asked them that 3-year question. And they said, oh, 3 years? What's success? Oh, I want to be out of this in 18 months. All we want to do is build this company up really quick so we can take it public and then we can exit. Fantastic. I don't want to work with you. Simple as that, right? And what are your geographic restrictions? Well, Southern and Central Ontario. I don't want to go to Manitoba, Winnipeg to have a meeting like this, right? It's simple. I don't want to work in Quebec because I don't speak French well enough. And what size of company do I want to work with? 1 to 100. So you ask yourself all these questions, you write them down, you think about where you want to work, who you want to work with, what communities you're involved with. And again, we're going to send you this and it clarifies your thinking. And then you can come up with a statement. So what's your target market? Well, for us, it's working with advisors like you, but it's really profitable entrepreneurial businesses where the owners are active and focus on growth between 1 and 100 full-time employees located in Southern and Central Ontario. I can be an expert in this marketplace. I am an expert in this marketplace. Those questions just help you with that focus, helps you define that target market, right? It's simple, right? When you get your thinking clear. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? Well, who would you like to help? Who would you like to help? Well, as I mentioned on the previous page, right? I want to help successful growth-oriented businesses. That's my thinking. I want to help successful growth-oriented businesses. What do you want to help them with? Right? What do you want to help them with? Well, I want to help them with customized benefit plan design. I want to help them with implementation. I want to help them with ongoing service. Next question, how can you add value? How can you truly add value? Well, targeted plan design for their unique business. That's how I can add value. I can give them a targeted plan design for their unique business. I can give them conservative budgeting because I think that's important. All businesses like budgeting and conservative budgeting as opposed to aggressive budgeting. I can give them tax-effective advice and tax-effective solutions with specific to benefits for the business owner or business owners, right? I'm really good at that. I can give them those tax-effective discussions with those businesses and business owners. I can provide a clear understanding of the link between plan design and costs. So I can do it in a very simple language, that link between the plan design and costs. Great. So that's what how can I add value? Targeted plan design for their unique business, conservative budgeting, tax-effective solutions for the business owner, providing a clear understanding of the link between plan design and costs. Great. Next question. When do you want to help them? Well, I want to help them today, tomorrow, and beyond. Future. I want to help them today, tomorrow, and beyond. So when you put these things down in writing, you are all going to have different answers. But when you put this thing, clarify your thinking, you put these things down and write them down, all of a sudden, you ask yourself the next question, right? What do you do? What do you do? Well, this is this process that we came up with. And again, it took us quite a while. But what we do is we help successful business owners build a better benefit plan than they can get anywhere else. This thinking helps clarify that statement. It's as simple as that. This thinking helps clarify that statement. On to the next one. And again, I'm going to share this with you, right? But and this is just an example. What are your 3-year revenue goals? Well, in 3 years, I want to have reoccurring income. And that's the best part about this benefits business is you get reoccurring income. I don't care what anybody says. You can start from scratch and in 3 years have a $300,000 a year business with recurring $300,000 revenue. Great. My 1-year revenue goal, $100,000. Okay, fantastic. Well, let's just make an assumption, for example, I know that writing is small, but I'm going to send this to you. Let's just make an assumption that the annual spend per employee benefit plan is about $3,000 a year per person. Average commission is about 5%. So that means each employee creates $150 a year in revenue. $150 a year in revenue. So how many groups do I need to sell to get my $100,000 1-year annual revenue goal? Simple as that. Well, $100,000 divided by $150 per person. I need to get 666 full-time employees on benefit plans this year. Now, my target market, I want to sell an average of 30 or groups of 30. So we know that if we get groups of 30, I need to have 22 groups to reach my $100,000 goal. I understand that some groups are going to be 28, some groups are going to be 32, some groups are going to be 20, some groups are going to be 50, but I'm really focused on 22 groups in my target market that is going to help me reach my $100,000 goal. So what are your goals? Break it down into bite-sized pieces. I know, therefore, I need 22 groups. Simple as that. 22 groups. Okay, so all of a sudden, that big mountain of $100,000 came down to 22 groups. Okay, it's a little bit smaller. All right, so 22 groups I need to sell. I'm not very good at closing. So how many meetings do I need to have? Well, I need to have I'm only got a 10% closing ratio. So therefore I need to have 220 meetings. As simple as that. How many weeks a year do I want to work? 40. Talked about that. I only want to work 40 weeks a year, right? Other weeks I'm going to be either on vacation or I'm going to be, building up some internal processes and prospect lists, etc. Right? So I only want to work 40 weeks a year actively having meetings. Fantastic. How many meetings do I have to have a week? Well, 220 divided by 40 equals 6. I need to have 6 meetings a week. That's it. Great. 6 meetings a week. That's it. To reach my $100,000 a year revenue. Oh, pardon me. Let me go back. Oh, did we go the wrong way here? There we go. I need to have 60 meetings I need to have 6 meetings a week. Now, how many calls do I have to make 6 meetings a week? How many connections, not calls, connections? Well, I'm not very good at that either. Okay, so I need to have 60 connections a week, 60 calls a week. There's 5 days in a week. Fantastic. I need to have 12 calls a day. I need to make 12 connections a day. What's my job? 12 calls a day, 12 connections a day. That's it. That's what my job is. 6 meetings a week, 12 a day. I got to get in touch with 12 people a day through my prospecting channels. Right? So all of a sudden you run these things through and you go, fantastic. Your target, okay, here's your sales plan, right? Here's your sales plan. My target market is profitable entrepreneurial businesses where the owners are active and focused on growth between 1 and 100 full-time employees located in Southern and Central Ontario. What I do is I help successful business owners build a better benefit plan than they can get anywhere else. I need to make 12 calls a day, 12 connections a day to reach my financial goals. Simple as that. That's my plan. For example, what's yours? You break it down into bite-sized pieces. Did I make my 12 connections a day? Using a 10-to-1 sales ratio. What are your ratios? That's why they become important. But what's your job? Someone asked me, what it is that I do, and you go through it, but they say, what do you do on a daily basis? I go, I make 12 contacts a day. That's all I have to do. I don't have to think about anything else. Make 12 calls a day, 12 contacts a day. And I know I'm going to reach my financial goals. I know I'm going to do that. So tools and resources. This is on our website. We've got a new website up, which is awesome. We're getting great feedback on it, but we're going to send you this. It's also on, this worksheet is also on our website. So go to the Advisor Resource Center and you'll find it there as well. But we've got a number of different tools that you can use to help you with your success. But I really want to ask you to invest 30 minutes of your time, and I think you'll be amazed by the results. I think you'll be absolutely amazed by the results. So check out thebenefitstrust.com, go to the Advisor Resource Center, get this worksheet, but we'll send it out with the CE credits as well. But I think you'll be just amazed by the results and how it clarifies your thinking. And it allows you to be honest with yourself. It allows you to really be honest with yourself. So in summary, because we've got a few minutes left, is, what are your goals? What's your target market? What are you going to say? Know what you're going to say. Have it roll off your tongue, right? But the key thing is have a sales plan. And you got to commit to that plan. You got to share the plan and share the results. You got to have successes along the way and share those successes along the way. But most importantly, you got to schedule it. I think it's important to schedule it in your daily calendar and make it a daily activity. This is your job. Simple as that. Your job is to make 12 contacts a day. In this example, it's to make those 12 contacts a day. You break it down like that. Hey, all I got to do is make 12 contacts a day and I'm going to be successful. Can you commit to that? That's what you're asking yourself. These are the questions that you're asking yourself. Simple sales plan, 10 meetings a week. This sales plan, I know what I'm going to do. I know where I'm doing it, and I know what I'm going to say, and I know how many times I need to say it. Fantastic. It's easy. My job is 12 contacts a day. Right? 6 meetings a week. Simple as that. Remember, when you're dealing with clients, yes pays you. When a client says yes, it pays you. No, when someone says no to you, it teaches you. It makes you stronger. It teaches you. Be aware, maybe kills you. And Lawrence, you've been around long enough, and I've certainly been around long enough that I've dealt with people that have said maybe for way too long. And if I could have that time back, I would have hair. Right? Maybe kills you. You have any experience in that?
I would note you never know where your next good client is going to come from.
Yeah.
There are soft maybes and hard maybes,
Yes.
but three strikes and they're out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's interesting. That's a great point, Lawrence. There are soft maybes and hard maybes, and you've got to be able to know your client and know where they're going and whether. And back to my question: if we were meeting you 3 years from today, and you know what has to have happened for you to say it's been the best 3 years of your life, if they're not engaging with you next, like if they're just leading you along, that's probably going to be, you know, a pretty bad maybe, right? So it's if they're not engaging with you, right, it's chances are you don't have a prospect. The other thing is if you don't like
maybe's never happened.
Maybe's never happened. There you go. Yeah. But if you don't like where the client is going as well, so you know you got to remember that if the client's not going to engage with you, that's one thing. Just move on. They're not looking at you as an expert. They're not engaging with you. Move on. The next thing is if you don't like where they're going, life's too short. Move on. If you don't like where they're going, move on. The other thing that's I think it's important, you know, there's a lot of noise out there. There is a lot of noise out there, and I think there's more noise than ever. Again, I've been doing this, maybe my ears are too sensitive, but you know, there's a lot of noise out there. I think there's more than ever, but there are no shortcuts to sales success. It's just different how you do it, but there aren't any shortcuts. You know, there's internet, there's social media, there's AI, there's chat GBT. They have all the answers. They don't have the questions. They have all the answers. They don't have the questions. You know, it's interesting as I was, you know, talking to Lawrence just before we started here. Lawrence Geller is doing the Masters of Insurance, and I've seen 2 of the sessions so far. And both of those sessions, you know, Zoltan Barzo was one, and it's like, oh my God, I'm just escaping the first one. It was Bruce Bell, right? No,
Barry Pascal.
Barry Pascal, thank you. But all they did was talk about the questions. All they did was talk about their questions, right? So remember, there's a lot of noise out there. There are no shortcuts, but you know, they don't have the questions. The internet, chat GBT, they don't have the questions. Those are the questions that you've got to ask.
Make the solution the client's solution.
Yeah.
And when it's the client's solution, they always implement.
Absolutely. You make it the client solution. And when you help them build a customized plan that is their plan, they don't go and shop anywhere else. It's their plan. It works for them, right? And how you do that is if we were meeting here 3 years from today and you look back over those 3 years, what has to have happened for you to say it's been the best 3 years of your life? It's that future-based question. It's going to give you the roadmap to where you're going. Questions, ideas, discussion. Real quick, I'll come back to that in a moment. I just want to take this, get this through. Don't forget our upcoming Zoomcasts on March 5th, March 7th, and March 20th. You can register on our website. Check it out. We're going to talk about prospecting. Let me stop sharing. So we've got a few minutes left. We've got 6 minutes left. There we go. Lots of people on the call. And who's got some ideas, thoughts, questions? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm nuts? You know, who's got some feedback? And it doesn't matter how new or old you are, you can always start this. Any thoughts, ideas, questions? Simon.
Good job on that, Rob. Your experience shows. What I would say is that all of these things that you talk about are age-old processes and systems to put in place, and they're effective. They are the most effective, and when we put these in place, it just inevitably creates success. And all the things that we can, and you pointed out, the AI and all these social media and all those things, we have to be able to reach out to people and connect with them. And the ideas that you shared today are very legitimate. Even today, in this digital world, getting out and talking to people, it's almost like people are afraid to do that anymore, but we need to assert ourselves and go and do it. So young people need to learn that and get on that track.
Well, it's interesting. It's about connecting with people in a way they want to be connected with, right? And it's like I've got one particular client that that I can think. Well, I got a couple off the top of my head, but one particular client that if you don't deal with him face to face, you will not be his client. You deal with him face to face with a coffee in front of you, and you chat with them. And it's a very short chat, but it's a very effective chat. And it's just an interesting way. Now, I'm not saying all clients are like that. I've got some clients that actually it was really interesting. I've got this one particular client, and they're just super busy, and all they want to do is connect through Zoom. I ran into him in a store in Toronto, might have been the LCBO. Anyways, I ran into him in the LCBO at Summerhill and Yonge, and I looked at him and he looked at me and he goes, "Oh my God." And I go, "Oh, we said each other's name, and that's the first time we had met face to face, but we connected a lot on Zoom, right?" So it's really it's really connecting with people and how they want to be connected with, and it's reaching out to them. And you're right, Simon, thanks for sharing, but this is not something new. But I'll tell you what it does is it works. When you commit to a sales plan, it works. And you know what you got to do today. Today. It's a lonely world out there. You get up in the morning, you have your coffee, you have your breakfast, you go for your jog or whatever it is that you do, and then you sit down in front of your computer and you go, "Oh, what am I going to do today?" And then you finish the end of the day and you go, "I'm exhausted and I didn't really get anything done." When I do what I need to do on that day to reach my financial goals, I'm not exhausted at the end of the day. I'm motivated. I'm pumped up. I'm wired. I'm ready to go. This is exciting. It's knowing what you got to do today, this week. What do you got on this week that is going to make, your year financially successful and reach your goals? You wake up on January 1st and you know what you have to do. You wake up on January 1st and you know you had a great year last year because you followed a plan. It works. Any other thoughts, comments, ideas, questions? Anybody? Anybody? Hello? Hello?
Say one more thing if I can.
Please.
We had a question. You have a question in the chat. So what do you do with somebody that has just gone through a renewal with another advisor? How do you approach them? My answer to that would be, this is the best time to have a discussion and review what you have because all the information is fresh. Obviously, your existing advisor has done everything he can to make this best for you with his skills and what his knowledge is. Let us show you what we would do, and it'll create some pretty significant contrast for you, and then you'll really know where you are.
That's a great point. Sorry, I wasn't checking the questions that the others were, but yeah, it's like I've got an advisor. Well, fantastic. It's great to have a second opinion, just like you would on from a medical perspective, but it's great to have a second opinion. But then you start off those future-based questions and they're going, "Hey, you know what? Geez, my advisor never asked me these questions. We've never had these discussions. My advisor was just giving me the cheapest solution." Right? Or, is it truly a customized plan? Minute left. Any other thoughts, questions, ideas?
If you can hear me, Robert, I have an idea.
Hey, Greg, thanks for joining. How can we please share?
In live too. I used it the first time I ever heard you say it, shortly thereafter, the idea of, if we meet again in 3 years, where would you have to be to consider those that time ideally used? And it opened the client's eyes and it offered a whole new opportunity to relate to them. So I love that. And on that note, the most powerful thing that I've learned is, and it ties right in, but when I meet somebody new, I want to know about their previous insurance experiences and the person that led them into it. Because that once again, it seems to open people's eyes to a whole new way of thinking, and it creates some energy between us that I find is good.
Thanks for sharing, Greg. Really appreciate it. It's 8 o'clock. Oh, sorry, 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock here. It's 11 o'clock in Ontario. So thank you all very much for joining. On behalf of all of us at the Benefits Trust, again, Lindsay, Rob, Mike, Carrie, etc. Want to thank you very much for participating. We're going to send you a credit. We're going to send you a link to the slides that we had today. We're going to send you a copy of the worksheet. We're going to send you a survey, let you know how we did today. You're signed up for our Trusted Advisor newsletter, which comes out once a month. I think we're at 125 months in a row, 126 months in a row, which is great. We're going to stick around for a few minutes. If you have any other thoughts, questions, ideas that you want to stick around. And again, we want to thank you. We're going to see you next month when we're talking about prospecting. In addition to that, we are open for business. We're a full service third-party administration company. Again, Carrie, Rob, Mike, Lindsay, happy to help. And it's great. Lindsay just started with us at the 1st of January, but she's going to be off next week because she's on vacation because, you know, we give all of our new employees a week vacation as soon as they start. So anyways, no, obviously set up long before. So we thank you for your time. We're open for business. We have some inventory on the shelves. We're happy to help out. And I wish you continued sales success in the future. We'll talk soon. So thanks everybody, and we'll stop recording.